Okay, let's talk about J.J. Abrams' new series called UFO about UFOs, U.A.Ps, and the phenomenon. The first episode just dropped on Showtime and YouTube. Let's discuss. Before I get too far into it, please hit like, please subscribe, share on social media, and as I'm going through it, please comment below and let me know what you think. Okay, so I've been aware that this show was going to drop for a while, and I was kind of skeptical about it. I mean, J.J. Abrams didn't exactly set the world on fire with the last Star Wars movie. That said, Lost, the TV show Lost, is one of my favorite shows of all time, if not my favorite. And Lost was his baby. He wrote the pilot for it. He was the showrunner originally. And anyway, so I have a love-hate relationship with J.J. Abrams. I don't think he did Star Wars any favors, but I really love Lost. So I was curious what was going to happen with the TV show. He does have a good record of fictional TV shows. Alias was a lot of fun, and he's had a couple other good TV shows. And so this is his first documentary series that I'm aware of. If he's done other nonfiction shows, please let me know in the comments below. Anyway, so I was curious about it. I wasn't expecting much, and but I was pleasantly surprised. There wasn't any great revelations in it. If you are a student of the phenomenon, if you have done some research into it, you will have uncovered everything there is to know in this first episode. That said, it was very well done. It was well put together. It had some very good people in it, like Leslie Kean, who is one of the original co-authors of the New York Times piece that kicked all of this into gear. But it's J.J. Abrams, it's Showtime. Of course, it's going to be well produced and professional looking. But what about the content? They start off talking about E.T.s, and I thought for sure that's the direction they were going to go in. To me, that was the no-brainer. And sure enough, that is how they legitimize the topic in general by talking about Lou Elizondo and E.T.s. However, after that original opening, they don't go into E.T.s very much. They don't talk about the famous E.T.s cases that we know of, like the Nimitz and the Roosevelt. They actually go into more historical cases. They spend a lot of time talking about the Phoenix Lights. Now, I love the Phoenix Lights. I think that is an amazing case. We have a huge craft on video flying over a major city with thousands of witnesses. It's really hard to come up with a better case than the Phoenix Lights, unless it would have been in daytime. But of course, that would have defeated the whole purpose. The UFOs want to show up just enough to get your imagination going and to start spreading the word, but not enough to provide definitive proof. That seems to be their modus operandi. Of course, some people have definitive proof. The government has definitive proof. They've got craft. They've been reverse engineering actual craft. Very likely dealing with the beings themselves. So the aliens or the visitors aren't above giving us actual proof, but for some reason they don't want to go to the public directly. They will go to individuals directly, and they have contacted countless individuals, willingly and unwillingly. But as far as disclosure goes, they are willing to disclose themselves to the government, but not to the public. At any rate, the show is able to interview the governor of Arizona at the time, and I forget his name. Of course, he's very famous or infamous for the alien mask prank that he pulled. And so, you know, kind of discrediting the event and the phenomenon in general, even though he himself is a believer and a witness. He says that the Phoenix Lights incident was an otherworldly incident and that the craft was inhuman. but he will always be known for that press conference. Anyway, so the show spends a lot of time on the Phoenix Lights, which is great because there is video of it. There's a lot of witnesses to it. It's a very solid case, and there is enough documentation for it to make it a very legitimate incident. So they start off with A.T.I.P., but they don't dwell on it. They go directly to the Phoenix Lights, and they do spend quite a lot of time on it, but it is also a very legitimate case, by which I mean acceptable to the mainstream as much as any of this is, because there are so many witnesses and other evidence. They then talk a lot about how the government has suppressed this issue for quite a while. They even go back into the 50s, maybe even the 40s. I don't think they actually address Roswell, but they do go into historical cases somewhat. They talk a lot about how the government has suppressed this issue, how they have made it a subject of ridicule. They give several examples. Then they talk about Project Blue Book, and they spend some time talking about Project Blue Book, which is a great place to start. Phoenix Lights and Blue Book, very mainstream, acceptable things for them to discuss regarding the phenomenon. I'm sure you're aware of Project Blue Book, so I won't go into much detail on that. Although who knows, I might do a future video on it. But they do talk about how Project Blue Book even suppressed the phenomenon and information regarding the phenomenon, and how the government is obviously hiding something regarding this issue. It did not go into what they are hiding. It did not talk about crash retrievals or, Eisenhower meeting with the visitors or any of that sort of thing. Hopefully they'll get into that in a later show. At the end of the episode, they tease the Nimitz incident, so hopefully they'll get into that in the next episode and spend some time on it, since it is such a juicy case. Nimitz seems to be the case that kickstarted A.T.I.P., or at least revealed the need for a program like A.T.I.P. But we don't know that. Lou himself has changed the story a couple of times on the origin of A.T.I.P. He is largely very consistent, but I think that is somehow kind of murky. I don't know if they're hiding something there or if there's something they don't want us to know, but it is an interesting situation that has nothing to do with the show. All in all, a very mainstream, acceptable show that I think is worth watching, especially if you are new to the field in general and want to catch up on some of the interesting events related to the phenomenon, some of the more, like I say, mainstream, accessible events. They're not talking about anything funky here. There's nothing metaphysical. There's nothing, involving near-death experiences or spiritual stuff or other dimensional stuff or time travel. They don't get into any of that. They keep it very nuts and bolts. There's craft, there's these witnesses, there's these events, there's radar, that sort of thing. That's about what I was expecting from the show, and that's why I wasn't all that excited about it, and I don't come away being very excited about it either. If you've done much research into the phenomenon, you will probably be generally bored by this episode. However, it is interesting to see how the mainstream is diving onto this issue and what information they are receiving. So when you talk to Aunt Edna at the family vacation, you'll be able to know what she knows. You'll be able to see the information she is being presented. So for that reason, it might be worth checking out, even to those people who are familiar with the phenomenon. Well, as familiar as we can get. Without having been abducted and allowed to keep our memories, don't get abducted. I don't want to be abducted. That wasn't an invitation. If you've enjoyed this episode, please give it a big thumbs up. I would really appreciate it. Also, share on social media. Let other people know about what we're doing here. I would love to see you comment below. Let me know what you think about this episode. Have you seen the premiere of J.J. Abrams' UFO? What did you think about it? Oh, and I now have a Twitter page. The link is below, as well as a Facebook page. And I would love it if you would go there and follow me on Facebook. Oh, and there is a donate button below if you wanted to contribute to the channel, if you wanted to buy me a cup of coffee. That'd be awesome. So that link as well is included below. Until next time, Cosmic Road out.